Thrust forward by Edison, and here is Riyad Mahrez! The man of a magnificent Manchester City moment.
Man City, the Premier League action yesterday in the middle of the day, ruining my day as a Spurs supporter. There's Haaland right there, the Norwegian Viking god. This big blonde boy right here. Suarez, I think is his name, scored the goal. Is that his name? I'm actually not 100% sure. This Haaland guy's best athlete in sports right now. This is interesting to see. Daily Sports Podcast, News, Narratives, Takes, Gambling. He's the best team sport athlete in sports right now. My rankings that no one asked for is him, then Ohtani, then Connor McDavid. But let's get into some stuff. Manchester City beats Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham is falling off the face of the earth, which is interesting because they have a good team and a great team always. I mean, it's just like one of those things where like, what's going on with them? Arsenal is just running away with stuff. They've got a 5-point lead right now atop the standings. They've also played one fewer game, so if they win their next game, like theoretically, they could have as much as an 8-point lead. We're just about halfway through, a little over halfway through in the Premier League season. Remember, in the Premier League, the top 4 get to go to the Champions League. The 5th gets to go to Europa, I believe, and then there's some other stuff. The really interesting, fun part of that about this season is that Liverpool sucks, which is hilarious. Chelsea also sucks. Well, they don't really suck. They're just like 9-10, but there's a big slew of teams in the middle. Also like to really root for the teams that are just coming up. They get promoted. I want the teams that are promoted that like won their league or whatever to be stick around for a while. Nottingham Forest is a Cinderella story, and they're not safe by any means, but they were at the bottom for a long time. They got promoted, and then they were trashed. They're doing really well. Love to see that. Everton, which has been in the Premier League for years and years, they are garbage. They are going to get demoted, it's going to be a tough look for them. But Man City, second place, they are chasing Arsenal 3 points against Tottenham yesterday. Spurs are chasing Newcastle, and they have a 5-point deficit. So there's a big cutoff between the top 2, then there's like 2 or 3 teams after that, and then the Tottenham, and then everybody else. What a ruin to my afternoon. Okay, so let's talk about some other stuff that happened yesterday. Alden Smith, it's good to talk about alcoholism and just falling off the face of the earth. Alden Smith was on the 49ers team that went to the Super Bowl with Jim Harbaugh with, I believe, I want to say the other big person on the defensive line for that team there was another Smith, I forget his name, and there was Eric Armstead on that team, the great D-line. Alden Smith was elite. He was an elite football player for a long time. Well, not a long time, but he was an elite NFL football player. But he had trouble with alcohol. He had trouble with, keeping his life together. He got straight, and in the COVID year, he played for the Cowboys, and he played great. It was an amazing comeback story for him, but it seems like he's fallen off the wagon again, and now he's looking at, I believe he's looking at prison time. This is according to TMZ. He's facing prison time in a plea deal, cutting a sentence to just over a year. Because he has had so many DUIs. So just a tragic situation for Alden Smith. And there have been a number of players like him. It's, alcohol addiction is not a joke. Addiction in general is not a joke. So just a bummer seeing him. His name resurfaces every now and then, what could have been. He's just a tremendous football player. I also wanted to put this up there. This is my podcast, and you all can deal with it. The best player in the history of chess, Magnus Carlsen, lost 2 times in a row for the first time in 7 years yesterday. Look at him. There he is. He resigns, which means he knows he's going to lose. That's what you do. You've all seen the Queen's Gambit. Remember the scene where the guy's like, you resign when you're going to lose. He, for 2 times in a row since 2015. Crazy. 18-year-old beat him. He could be beat. That's quite the move right there. Colorado has got all of the people hopping. Deion Sanders gave a speech to his buffs, the Colorado Buffs, discussing how important it is to treat women with respect. Every coach does that. Deion went viral for it because he's Deion, but it's a big message. They also unveiled some new white on white uniforms. They're looking really cool. They're stealing recruits. Everything looks great, but we'll see how it goes. I mean, I keep talking about it, so maybe I'm part of the problem. I genuinely don't care about this soon. We're gonna settle into recruiting, and then the offseason is gonna come, and it's gonna be hockey. and basketball season and NFL draft season. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. NFL divisional weekend. The take, if you want to sound like you know football, the take that everyone has is this is the best weekend of NFL football of the year. I don't think it's going to be that way. I think last weekend was the best weekend. Because people are starting to run the ball with their quarterback, there's a lot more parity. This is the most parity I've ever seen in the NFL. Anybody can beat anybody. This is for the first time ever. The Colts beat the Chiefs, bro. The Lions had like 3 of the teams this weekend with like the last play of the game. The Eagles and the Bills, they didn't make the playoffs. The Giants have beaten everybody. But let's talk about the Giants, Eagles, that game. Let's talk about Saturday first. Jags, Chiefs, Giants, Eagles. These are the games with the biggest spreads. I think they're both 8.5. Eagles are favored by 8.5 or 7.5. Excuse me. Chiefs are favored by 8.5. The first game will be Jags, Chiefs. I like the Jags to cover in this game myself. The narratives to watch out for is Doug Peterson. He's an Andy Reid disciple. Trevor Lawrence is going to be the next. He's clearly the next big quarterback. He's just got a lot of. I think the comp for Lawrence, in my opinion, is like tall Matthew Stafford. He's got some risky stuff in him, but they're never out of it with him. They spent all that money on those like B-plus free agents in the offseason. I think they're good. They can rush the passer, but they can't do much else. I think this game could be a shootout. The over-under is 52.5. There are snow flurries expected, but it's going to be 38 degrees, so a little wet. It's just going to look like a good old-fashioned playoff football game. Jacksonville covering in the 8.5 makes a ton of sense to me. I also love Trevor Lawrence over 16.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to get that. I don't think there's going to be a problem there. The Giants and Eagles game kicks off at 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and the Giants, it's been a magical year, for sure. The Eagles are going to destroy them. Jalen Hurts could be 60%, get pulled, and Gardner Minshew could come in. And last week it was close. I don't know. I don't care. It's a little different now. Lane Johnson, I guess he's better. They've had the bye week to get their shit together. And it felt like the Giants played their best game of the year last year. Like, that was a bowl game for them. They go into Minnesota. They knock off a playoff team. It's going to be great. The Giants have a negative point differential. The Eagles are the best team in football, top to bottom. They have no weaknesses except for their quarterback, and that's only a weakness because he's hurt. The number 7.5, I think Philly wins by closer to 20. I'm not joking. This is easy peasy lemon squeezy, and I think the over is going to hit here. I think Philly wins in the neighborhood of like 41-17. I don't think this is going to be an obliteration. The Jags could get obliterated, but Kansas City, they just play with their food, man. I don't know. There's something weird about them. They're not tough anymore. They're not what they were in 2019, 2020, 2021. They're just not. They're losing their edge, I believe. Then on Sunday, the Bengals-Bills kickoff. I think it's like at a 3 p.m. kickoff Eastern Standard Time in a game that will be emotional and absolutely bananas. The rumors are that Damar Hamlin will be there and will be featured on the screen and whatnot. Of course, the Bengals and the Bills are the two teams that were playing when Damar Hamlin had his cardiac arrest on the field. And I'll be honest with you, if you're the Bengals, you got to be pissed about this because you're like, well, we don't want to go to fucking Buffalo. And you were winning the game 7-3, and they were driving aggressively when Damar had his cardiac arrest. It was the first quarter. But you can't be mad at Damar. You can be mad at the circumstance, but it wouldn't be hard to be kind of pissed off about this. Because if they beat the Bills and they looked great, I mean, who knows it's football. You never know who's going to win. It's the first fucking quarter. But the Bengals are the hottest team in the NFL in like the last 2 months. One of them. Talk about the other one here in a second. So if you're the Bengals, you're going to be pissed. The Buffalo crowd is going to be just lit up. Both of these teams are built to beat the Chiefs. So I am not worried about that at all. And both of these teams, but the one weird thing is, I don't know that both these teams would beat the Jags. The Jags are weird. Doug Peterson is the best coach in the NFL. Regardless, Buffalo is favored by 5.5. It is expected to be snow flurry-ish in Buffalo, which means that Burrow versus Allen, advantage Allen in every way, except perhaps like the Michael Jordan we're going to win stuff, but Josh Allen being able to run the ball in the snow. Cincinnati's offensive line has kind of been crumbling. It was a problem last year. It's why they didn't win the Super Bowl. Jamar Chase was open, but Joe Burrow got sacked. Bills minus 5.5. I think they cover, but I think it's close, and then they accidentally cover. You know what I mean? Where it's like a 3-point game, and then they seal it with a touchdown at the end or something weird like that. Final game of the weekend is a blast from the past. The Niners and the Cowboys. They must have met in NFC championships, and they ran the 90s, essentially. The Niners are 3.5-point favorites at home against the Cowboys. I think that the Cowboys win this game outright. This is the only game I would bet on for an outright win myself. I think that I'm just giving my takes. Who cares? I mean, Micah Parsons is really good, man. And Brock Purdy, like they've been managing him, but he hasn't really played a ton of defenses. The Seahawks defense is a joke, right? And he looked good after he looked terrible. And Kyle Shanahan can scheme some stuff up with the running game. The problem with the Kyle Shanahan offense is it can get you out to like a 10-point lead. It can't maintain that lead if people adjust to the run. So the teams that they've beat since the Purdy stuff has gone down, like the Saints, great defense, 13-0, great defense. Dolphins, not a great defense, bad defense. Bucks, bad defense. Seahawks, bad defense. Commanders, okay defense. Raiders, hilariously bad defense. Cardinals, just a shitty football team. Seahawks, bad defense. And as you go through their schedule, they haven't played a lot of good defenses, and especially not in a long time. I think the Cowboys win this game by about 7. The Niners is going to be one of those things, and you can go into the offseason like, do they want Brock Purdy? Do they want Trey Lance? What are they going to do? Kyle Shanahan's a genius. Kyle Shanahan is a genius. He's just not a genius enough to like win games that matter. It's been that way for a long time for him. I really don't know what the issue is, but they just can't win the big one. They just can't. They never will. If you want something to read today, I'll get you out of here on this. Yeah, so I mean, my bets again, you want to go through it and go, these are just my bets. Again, I think the Jaguars are going to cover. The Jaguars winning wouldn't be weird. The Kansas City, I don't know. Doug's a good coach. Trevor Lawrence is good. Kansas City's a much better team. Mahomes is the MVP, but they fuck around, man. And the Jags have some special teams. They have home run hitters. Like Kansas City cannot fuck around and find out anymore. That it is not 2019 anymore. The Eagles are going to destroy the Giants. The Bills are going to cover against the Bengals accidentally. There's going to be too many emotions in that game. So the Bengals might win because of the emotional thing. And then the Cowboys, I think, win comfortably over the Niners eventually. Like it's more than a field goal, in my opinion. They're going to win the game outright. Okay. If you want something to read and you subscribe to The Athletic, or if you don't subscribe to The Athletic, maybe you should. Every single time somebody gets fired or traded, what The Athletic will do is all of those inside sources that these really great reporters have gathered, they will just set them ablaze. They will just snitch. So as a journalist, I have to tell you, off the record is not a real thing. It does not exist. There's no law, nothing. It's not a real thing. It's just trust. Now, we all take it very seriously. But these Athletic guys, anytime, so when Mike LaFleur got fired as the offensive coordinator, once he left and he doesn't give a shit about the Jets anymore, he just spilled the beans, and then they're like, yeah, let's spill the beans. The quotes coming out of the Athletic burn piece on the Jets are hilarious. How the team rejoiced after Zach Wilson was benched. How Elijah Moore told Mike LaFleur to fuck himself after he didn't get any targets against Green Bay. Man, I love it. All right, enjoy your football weekend. I'm traveling. I'm going to try to figure out a way to do the show from California. We'll see how it goes. Back and better than ever Monday, I hope. Okay, goodbye.